Jai everybody. As we speak today, there are a lot of buzz between the Indian establishment and Chinese establishments coming together on a number of issues, and some kind of bonhomie is being displayed. Of course, the Trump tariffs and their bonhomie with Pakistan have been the underlying causes. But how much China can be trusted is something we have to be cautious about. In fact, since it assumed the current form of governance, it has started its expansionist agenda in a big way. It had already taken in Inner Mongolia, erstwhile East Turkmenistan, Xinjiang, about which the speaker will be discussing with us today, Tibet, and a number of other places all around. In fact, you'll be surprised to see its effort that came in the current form of government on 1st October 1949, and hardly any time was left when it entered in the Korean War. And they made substantial progress in support of North Korea, despite the entire US might being. So this is a country to be watched at. It already has borders with 14 countries, out of which it has already settled its border with 12 countries. Only 2 countries which are left are India and Bhutan. Bhutan also because of the Indian interest. So why it is not doing that with India? There are various reasons. Some call it as a strategic lever, or some other this thing keeping India engaged on these kind of things. But Xinjiang, though you would have heard some bit of it about the that portion being having a large Muslim population, and despite China being so close apparently with Pakistan, but Pakistan not opposing the Chinese policies and things like that. But nothing much, at least I don't know much about Xinjiang except the operations which Chinese undertake in that part of their own country, and how they are trying to negate the uh, local or you can say the native flavor of both Xinjiang. By getting the Han Chinese from the hinterland, moving there and changing the population metrics. So with that, just this thing, I think today's talk will be very, very interesting because we have got an expert on that particular field. It will be very, very important for all of us. So before we go ahead, we'll request Dr. Manojit Das to introduce the speaker, and then we will continue with the talk.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to CENJOWS session. Due to limitation of time, I will not be able to give more elaboration because your profile already has been very much distinguished. So Dr. Mahesh Ranjan Debata is an associate professor at the Center for Near Asian Studies, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Dr. Debata was a director, UGC Area Studies Program from 2017 to 2019. Dr. Debata's main research interest includes studies on China, Xinjiang, Inner Asia, Eurasia, Central Asia, and research methodology. He has supervised over 20 PhD and MPhil degrees already awarded. 4 PhDs are currently work in progress. Dr. Debata has authored and edited over 7 books, in addition to over 25 scholarly papers in peer-reviewed national and international journals. Dr. Debata has published with reputed publishers like Brill, Springer, Routledge, in addition to peer-reviewed UGC journals like China, Eurasian Forum Weekly, International Studies, Diaspora Studies. His regularly lectures includes topics on international and area studies, focusing on Xinjiang, Uyghurs, Chinese minority policies, BRI, China and India, geopolitics. Dr. Debata is a member, Board of Advisors, Center for South and Southeast Asian Studies, Kazi Nazrul University, Asansol, and School of International Relations, Central University of Jharkhand. Dr. Debata has been a member of Central Eurasian Studies Society, USA, and editorial board member of China Global Strategic Research Institute, peer-reviewed and research journal. And what sir has not mentioned, I would like to add that sir has been the only scholar who has traveled across Xinjiang for his studies.
All yours, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar to one and all. It's really wonderful to be here. This is an excellent opportunity for me to express and share my experiences because I have been working on this area since 2020, 2001, almost quarter century, and I visited, as rightly pointed out. Dr. Manojit, I visited Xinjiang 4 times. First time in 2013 in connection presentation of a paper, and, which was liked by, fortunately or unfortunately, liked by one and all in Chinese academic circles. And then in 2014, as part of, you can say, a propaganda conference by the Chinese State Information Council. That was in Urumqi, the capital city of Xinjiang. That was in 2014 June. I stayed there for 8 days, and I have also given one slide with regard to that, where I will tell you exactly what happened during that point of time, how the building of narrative by the Chinese with regard to Xinjiang, Tibet, and other areas, they have been able to do that. And and fortunately, sir, I was also fortunate to have traveled in that city for almost 200 kilometers from the outskirts of Kasgar towards the Karakuli Lake, but just a few kilometers out from the Kunjira Pass, and I was not allowed to go beyond that. So that quite good experience. And coming back to my topic next, please. Here, I have to. So when you look at the China's counter-terrorism policy, I will start with, since the establishment of People's Republic of China in 1949 October, they started with anyone who is opposed to Mao, the charismatic leader they call, and the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese state, and the central government. They need to counter. So that is instead of before preceding the counter-terrorism policy, there was a counter anyone who was opposed to Mao, and there is a counter criminals and anti-national, anti-social, anti-national elements. And of course, there is a counter minority program. There is Uyghurs and Tibetans, as well, also talked about. The inner Mongols, they were not so, but both Uyghurs and Tibetans, they bear the front, both the front from Mao onwards to Xi Jinping. And there is a counter 3 evil forces. 3 evils, they call it separatism, extremism, and terrorism, that began in the early 90s after the post-Soviet era. And finally, they came with a counter-terrorism policy in 2015 under the Xi Jinping. So when you look at the counter minority policy, so you see the region, 3 minority areas. Xinjiang, the blue color one is Xinjiang area, the all colored one is Tibet area, and the navy blue color is Inner Mongolia area. Now we can easily understand that how much area is left with the mainland China. These, because of this, the Chinese government has been focusing on these northwestern part, these minority dominated area, since last 7 decades. Why I showed this picture, because I was also fortunate to visit this place. This is a picture in Khotan city center. I will just share my experience in 2015 when I visited there. It was a very difficult situation there. Before I went there, I stayed in Aksu, which was also known as one of the important centers during the Buddhist era from 3rd century AD to 8th century AD. So I had the somebody told me that you must visit Aksu and Pucha. Even Pucha, I visited a number of functions with India's historical cultural linkages with Xinjiang during that period, and ancient period also, and during that period as well. So why I showed this picture, the day I was there, I think it was in June 2015, something happened between some bickering between Uyghur and some Chinese policemen. Within 5 minutes, of 500 to 700 Chinese policemen, army, PLA people, they were mobilized. Within just 5 minutes. So you can understand how important this is Bhutan. Bhutan is the region where your size is part of the next. So the counter-terrorism policy in China, it started. You know, it started in 1990s, but actually it started in 19. It started with the title, it is Strike Hard and Maximum Pressure. The name itself shows that how cruel it has been. And also they call in Chinese, they call it Yanda. That is very close to Danda. So when they talk about you stick and carrot and stick policy, there is no carrot policy, there is only stick policy. So that also, and during, it started in 1983. I was also fortunate to meet some of the guys who were very active in Xinjiang during the democracy movement. You all people know that the democracy movement started during the Tiananmen Square. No, 6 years before it started in Xinjiang, in Urumqi itself, Xinjiang University. And three of the stalwarts of during that period, the student leaders, Dolkun Isa was a very well-known name in the Uyghur diaspora, was also the president of the Uyghur World Uyghur Congress. Then there is one more person, Rushan Abbas, who lives in the USA. She's also a very well-known figure, activist. So they were very active during this democracy movement. And then in early 90s, they started because 90s, and they claim, the Chinese, they talk about that during the 1990, there was a Bahrain incident in April 10th or 12th, 10th, 12th, 1990, there was a Bahrain incident in Kashgar region, where some Chinese policemen and army men and other officers were killed by the, and for the first time, it was not for the first time, but the Chinese claimed that for the first time, the Uyghurs, some of the Uyghur rebels or cadres or militants or terrorists, whatever you say, they use these sophisticated automatic weapons and the bombs also. And that was the turning point in the history of, and that the Chinese claim that compelled the Chinese to begin this strike hard and maximum pressure campaign. Because to do away with the terrorist, the religious extremists, whatever you say. Then the post 9/11, one country which had benefited from the 9/11 or the global war on terrorism. It was one of the countries that joined the global war on terrorism given by the USA in 2001 October. And it did not start the global war on terrorism there outside any country. It started inside its own territory. And the two people that they brought was the Uyghurs and the Tibetans. And of course, the 5th July 2009, when the Urumqi riot happened, because of whatever reason between the Han and the Uyghurs, as Sir also pointed out, that there was a Han Chinese. Hans were not liked by the local people. You know, the East Turkestan historically belongs to the Uyghurs. But the Chinese claim for the last 2000 years, which is a contested history, for 2000 years it has been part of China, Chinese kingdom or Chinese territory. But on the other hand, which I will show in one of the slides, perhaps I have given there. So on 5th July 2009, because of the bickerings between the Han Chinese, that led to a riot that led to the death of something around 166 people, but that must be something around 500 plus. And the injury of something around 2,000 people, which may be many more, maybe 3,000, more record. And then began from 2011 onwards, you can say whatever Xi Jinping era, the so-called Xi Jinping era. Next. So Xi Jinping era, why they started the strike hard campaign started in 2014, because when Xi Jinping was visiting Urumqi, there were a couple of bomb blasts, some attacks on the some of the officials of the Xi Jinping. So then he was steadfast. He said, no, there should be no mercy for this. And also he uttered that there will be a great wall of steel against all these evil forces. And then you can see there was no democracy, there was no human rights. He didn't care about human rights was its lowest eve. Next, please. You can see, I'm sorry, sir, I have given some of the caricatures to make it more interesting. I think. So very important. And they did it in Tibet, they did it with the Uyghurs, they did it in Hong Kong, anywhere. They also did it with the Uyghurs or the Tibetans all across the globe. Okay, through various means. And he was the most trusted lieutenant, Chen Chuanchu. He was the most trusted lieutenant of Xi Jinping, who was credited with like stabilizing Tibet before coming to Xinjiang. He came to Xinjiang in 2014, and then the infamous concentration camps that began. And what was the result? You can see in the next slide, sir, please. This was the result. Surveillance all across the region. Not only one. I remember after 5th July 2009, when I visited 2012, the people, the local people, they told me that just after a year on the first anniversary of this 5 July 2009 riot, that was on 5th July 2010, more than 30,000 closed circuit camera, only the Urumqi city alone. So you can understand how important this has been. And let me just tell you, for this, you all people know, some of people know, then you know about the realist theory of the international relations, where everybody talks. Arnav also talks about that nation first, national interest first. They say Americans only preach, we practice. They are the hardcore realists. They did it with the Uyghurs, they did it with the Tibetans as well. Surveillance everywhere. No one. I can give you 2-3 examples, sir. When in Urumqi in 2012, I tried to visit a mosque. Nobody, no Muslim people present there, they were agreed to have a photo with me. They didn't agree. They were scared. And every 10 feet, 10 steps, you can say, there's a small group of Chinese PLA and layers of security there. Even I remember, sir, I was trying to take the photograph of gentle lady Rabia Qadir. Rabia Qadir was also the president of the World Uyghur Congress, a well-known activist there. She's still alive. So I met her in 2005 in Washington, D.C., when she was released from the Chinese jail. She was a businesswoman. She was also a party cadre, because her husband was staying in USA, and for the charges, like she was sharing some of the confidential information from inside with her husband, so that she was incarcerated, and because of the American pressure or American intervention, so she was released. I was fortunate to be part of that testimony ceremony organized by the Congress. And then you'll be very surprised that two of the guys were instrumental for her release, one by the Human Rights Watch, another by the Amnesty International. They were Indians. Okay, so there you can see that what was the connection with. I could be able to understand what is the connection, not exactly official, but they did it. Even I remember when I spoke to Rabia Qadir and her husband, they say only Hindustan, they called India as Hindustan, can bail us out and bail the Uyghurs out from the Chinese war. So then coming, you see this, and then genocide as it has been, but despite that also you see. And second, sir, second example I'll give, I had a very good friend I met in London, and then in 2013 when I tried to meet her at her university, she was a very good scholar on the folklores of Mazars and the folklores of Xinjiang. I requested her to be part of one conference she was organizing. She declined. It should not be. Okay, and then I came to know that 3-4 years ago, there was no idea about where she is right now. Nobody knows. Even there is a group of scholars all across the globe. They are sending so many memorandums to US government and other governments for her release, but nobody knows where she is right now. I still, whenever I see her photographs, also I still remember fondly. And she also spared one of her students who was studying in Turkey. He took me to some of the places. Why I'm telling this? Because the 5th July 2009 incident. So I have the photographs with me. Next time when we meet, I can share with you that was the place where I showed my hand also there. That was the place where that 5th July 2009. So 5th July 2009 incident happened. Next, please. Yes, sir. And then they started, the Chinese started. Chinese, sir, let me start with the Chinese always provide ineluctable logic, which you cannot just ignore. First, let me say, sir also uttered the new Hanification. Many Hans from the mainland, they went to that. China had a logic. Whatever China does there, China has a logic. Ineluctable. You cannot ignore that. You cannot unjustify that. They say, oh, fine. I still remember some of the Chinese guys I met when I spoke to them. They say, why the Hans are going there? Opportunities are there in Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. All these places are there. Why they are going to something? They say, no, we are the citizens of China. We can go to any place of the world. And so, and we are going to, this is our land. This is our indivisible territory. This is our integral territory. So we can go there, we can stay there. And serve in 1950s under the Go West campaign, when the state-sponsored campaign in the Chinese sent all these people, the Hans mainly. And who were these? Also retired army personnel. They started a prison system, Gulag system, where all the criminals from the mainland, they were shifted. And when they, I should not say this, once a criminal, always a criminal. So once you are out of the prison, because they will not be dealing with all these people, the local people, the Uyghurs. So they will create problem for the Uyghurs. So in 1949, the population of Han in Xinjiang was just 6.7%. Uyghurs were 84%. Now, sir, by 1990, it was 40%, 44% Uyghurs, and near about 40%. Exclude the PLA and the XPCC, the Xinjiang Production and Construction Force. So under the ambit of that Go West campaign, they sent all these people to go there and settle down. Sir, what were the incentives? A, you will get, there is no private property in China, but you can get private property. You can have a property there. You can get a job. And the most important incentive that you can have more than one child, 2 children. In the urban area, 3 children in the rural area. Many of the Chinese, these were for the young, energetic fellows. So they sent all these people and they started building. Our history with Xinjiang has been part of our territory. They started with the contested history. They started building the narrative. This was part of our territory for the last 2000 years. Some 1960s, some of the Uyghur guys, the Uyghur scholars, I've given the name of 2 Uyghur scholars. There is a Muhammad Amin Bora and Turgun Almas. So I'll speak about Muhammad Amin Bora also. The very nationalist. He was also cabinet minister in 1933 when the East Turkestan, Islamic Republic of East Turkestan, okay, that was created in 1933 and again in the 1940s. Okay. So he was also cabinet. And the other important thing about Muhammad Amin Bora, he was credited with writing the history of Uyghurs, which was 4,000 year old, more than 4,000 year old. They said 2,000 years. They said no, 4,000 year old history. Our history with history is 4,000. But nobody read Turgun Almas books. It's 600 pages books. Nobody read that one. Nobody subscribed to his views also. Sir Muhammad Amin Bora, along with Isa Yusuf in 1949, when there was a repression. I will also tell you that story also. It's an interesting story. I have met Isa Yusuf both sons. 3 sons are there. I have met 2 of them. One in Turkey, one in Germany also. Both are alive, sir. The third one I couldn't meet because when I was in Turkey in 2011, he passed away. Just started meeting a couple of days after he passed. down. So Bora came to India, crossing so many barriers, bribing the border police and whatever. They came to India. There was a route, sir. Yarkand, Leh, Kargil, and Srinagar. Through that route, they came to some state there in Leh, some there in Kargil, some there in. There is a Sarai also. There is a Sarai in Yarkand Sarai in Srinagar. So many people. Near about 200 families they came to India. But at that point of time, sir, you know better that the situation was not good. Indian government did not give permission. And then the the America fit in the troubled waters. They took them all, most of them went to Turkey. They was with the help of the UNHCR, the Human Rights Commission, the UN Commission, High Commission for the Refugees. Okay. So he was that person. So I visited his house he is living in a place called Manisa in Turkey. So I visited, he was not there, his son is there. So I met him also, 2011. So they started narrative. No, you do not have any history. And now you do not have any culture. You have only one identity. You are a Chinese citizen first. Next. So then they started the coordinated propaganda with all these. So they started now, this is the age of social media. Now they are social media influencers. They are buying, literally buying the people, social media, YouTubers. Even one Indian YouTuber went there. Without the Chinese mohor, you can go there. So he went there. He only showed, oh, Kashgar is so beautiful, so good kebab and so good mutton samosa, mutton samsa. Samsa, you have aloo, they have mutton. Okay. So they all went there. And they only showcase. Not only there, sir, many Indian scholars also. I can take the name of Sudhindra Kulkarni, sir. There is a very well written piece by him that is available on the open space. Also, you can go through that. He visited there, stayed there 1 month. I was visualizing the places he visited. These are all guided tours, sir. I remember in 2014 when the Chinese State Information Council, they took to all the places, all the red lights were green lights. Nowhere Z category securities were given. 7-star arrangements. That was in a place where near to us was executive suit by the and well shielded by the PLA. So we stayed there as a guided tour. Anywhere we went, they will take us to a place and they said there is a harmony between the Uyghurs and local people and the Hans also. What they are doing, and when you talk, they know they are you are forcing them for labor. No, they say more than 900,000 Uyghurs are employed in the Chinese Angur cum wine factory. We visited that place. Angur even, all the high class with good taste wines are exported from there. And they who are producing this, the so-called, you can say the ideological Muslims, mullahs or whatever you say, they are producing their wine. Wine is haram in their religion, but they are producing their wine. This is the harmony between the local people and the next. So they say that, sir, I showed it for the caricature, you can see when any child is take your photo, they say cheese. You can see the picture. Say cheese that you are very happy there. You are living in prosperity. You do not have any problem. Many of the people out of like fear also, they say, we are happy. We don't have any issue. Next. Yeah, then they started mobilizing their friends. You know, there are so many friends. And there are also good friends, ideological friends. There are also money friends. They gave a lot of money. Okay, you can see they started. I found it somewhere, so I said, I thought that how to destroy freedom of speech. Azadi. So I'm sorry to use this one. Azadi ka jo hai. So they use this list. So and then they started. So this is at their national level they did it. The stick policy, so-called stick policy, not the carrot one, stick only. And then at the bilateral level, they started building rapport with so many countries, and neighbors, and then the outside countries also. And then they use this SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. that started as Shanghai Five. They say Shanghai Five spirit and all these bullshit. Then you see they say under the ambit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that came in 2001, just a few months before the 9/11, they said national separatism, religious extremism, international terrorism, these are the three evil forces. And since then, for the last 25 years, I think the SCO summit is just approaching. So they will also bring out a clause in this. How to combat the three evil forces. It was directed at these places only, the Uyghurs and the Tibetans also. And just after a couple of years, 2004, they began that regional anti-terrorist structure. So at national level, they did it. At bilateral level, they did it. Regional level. Next is the international, I think. Please. International community is silent. Nobody. There is a fervent appeal by the Uyghur activists, other activists also, human rights organizations, civil society organizations, but nobody bothers. Who is going to stop this genocide? Please next. And the UN report, even in 2020 brought out a report. USA brought 2000. USA is a double dealer. I'm sorry to use this double dealer because it doesn't have any single policy. Before said it started with 1949. That is what a roller coaster ride you can say. In 1949, they could not digest that there will be another socialist country just next to Russia. Okay, so what they did that they tried to use the Uyghur card. Tibetan card they use much after that, much later that. They tried to use the Uyghur card. How did they do that? Because Turkey is a NATO alliance. So they use Turkey. Turkey has a historical cultural linkage with the Uyghurs since 8th century AD. During the kingdom of Eretna, most of the Uyghurs using that the present BRI route, the old Silk route, they were going to that place to sell their leather products in 8th century. I have visited that place in Kayseri. There is a tomb of Eretna where I found some documents also mentioning that what kind of relation they had with the Uyghurs. Okay. And then they use the Turkey. Okay. Turkey, and they then the UNHCR took all the refugees from here to India. They all went from Kashmir to Bombay, Bombay to Karachi, Karachi to Anatolia. Okay, they are this. And for 6 months, the government, till 1995, Turkey supported the Uyghurs like anything. After that, defense cooperation with China, strategic cooperation with China, economic partnership with China, Uyghur gone. No Uyghurs. Okay, so that is it. Then started. Sorry, till 1991, nothing. Till 2000, you can say. And when China joined immediately after the global war on terrorism, 1 month after, October 21st, October 2002, the East Turkestan Islamic movement. I do not know whether it exists or not. The so-called terrorist organization that was declared as the global terrorist organization. And in 2024, it is delisted as one of the global. Next year. And you see this as what is the global person. USA, the big powers, they do not support. Russia do not support. Doesn't support. The USA doesn't support. The European countries, they do not support. And then you have the Ummah. The next will be Ummah. The Islamic countries, they do not support. Next year. And then there is a money power, the Chinese money power. Chinese dollar, you can say. I can give you one example. In Thailand, from Guantanamo Bay, 17 Uyghurs with the intervention of Barack Obama, 17 Uyghurs were released and they all came to Thailand. China gave $4 billion. You imagine per head how much money for the infrastructure development? $3.8 billion. And all of them were handed over to China. Next. And there is the international response. I have also written a couple of pieces on this. I can give you one example in 2019 when the issue was raised before the UN organization with regard to the genocide. So 22 countries they condemned. But China mobilization 52 countries, 37 of them are Muslim countries. That is no Muslim bhaichara. They don't care about the Uyghurs. The Pakistanis, they have problem with what is happening in our Jammu and Kashmir, but they don't care about the Uyghurs. There are a number of Uyghurs in Pakistan. Many of the Uyghurs, they use that route from Kasgar route, which is the CPEC route right now. Because there was, since 1960s, 60s and 70s, late 60s and 70s, when the Karakoram Highway was built, many people, there is a bus service, overnight bus service. Sir, I met some of the guys in 2013, 2, 3 Pakistani scholars. Then only I came to know there is a direct bus service from Kashgar that reaches via Gilgit Baltistan to Rawalpindi. This overnight journey. Okay, and the road is fantastic, sir. There is road, there is railway, there is also such check dams. And who are, and we were very surprised to see that they invested billions in the 1980s when the globalization process started in China. They invested billions in cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen. Shenzhen was a village. Now these cities, these areas, they are investing in Xinjiang, Tibet, and Iran. When you go to the outskirts, there is a corridor, international corridor. You see that there is a new Guangzhou city, new Shenzhen city. They are all the Chinese government. You see their style. So you can easily understand what is the international respect. Please next. Yeah, I just gave a picture. See the red picture. These are they all supported China during that. Next. And then you can understand the hypocrisy of the woman. Most of these people, including the Saudi crown prince, he visited Xinjiang and he gave a clarion call to all the Uyghurs. This is a very nice place. You enjoy the Chinese food. Don't go against the Chinese. Don't indulge in any anti-Chinese activities, or else you will be persecuted. This was hidden, or else you will be persecuted. And then Pakistan, you forget. Pakistan is a all-weather friend and what not. Okay. They gave everything in platter. I will show that caricature also there. So all these people there. So I will tell that 2014 story during that just to showcase what this BRI is. Because Xinjiang is the linchpin of BRI. All the cities, if you see the map of Xinjiang, all the Silk Road cities starting from Guangdong to Urumqi and all the cities in south also, Yarkand, Pocha, Aksu, Kasgar, all these cities, they are all Silk Road cities. And from there, that they went to Pakistan, they went to India, they went to the Central Asian countries also. So there is absolutely no hope. Many people, they even I have met some of these people there in Turkey also, in Kazakhstan, Central Asia also. They don't care about this actually, and not actually on the basis of this ideological basis that we are Muslims. No, no, brethren. China is better. China is giving us money. So $400 billion, $500 billion. Egypt. Why Egypt will utter anything? Why to incur the wrath of Chinese? Because they are getting money. All the African nations. I was just yesterday, I read one interesting topic. Interesting. You can also find it in the Google. There is a report by the Uyghur Studies Center. They all talked about the MENA, Middle East and the North African countries. There's something I have given the excerpt in the next. Yeah, this is there. They say that the pretext is to promote trade and goodwill. You know, the soft power and the economy also. But you see what is beneath that pretext. A deliberate effort to whitewash its mass internment. Don't tell anything about mass internment. Don't utter a single word. Just keep silent, take money, and enjoy. And then also, these are the tactics. Arabic language, state media, content sharing, recruitment of the regional influencers and social media influencers also. And they coordinated the social media and the export of Chinese surveillance technology. Even in India, you can find also. Everywhere in the world, that surveillance technology. Yeah. The CCTV you buy, the chips you buy, they're all Chinese. Anywhere in the world you go. Okay. And then they say that this is reinforced by the cultural and educational channels. Unfortunately, you can say India doesn't have any competition. They were there, they were trying to rope in some of the private universities, but because of the government rules or whatever. So these are, and they were framed around the themes like anti-colonialism, non-interference, and suppose solidarity with the Muslim world. One country which is accused of browbeating the suppressing the Muslims there, other countries they stay and they see, and their cries fall in deaf ears. Next week. All with the friendship, I said, they gave everything in platter. I remember one story when Imran Khan was the prime minister also. Most of the Pakistani traders, I have also met them in the Kashgar, Bhutan also. So they are very nice. Most of them are from Peshawar. Okay, Peshawar. So they are doing business there. Earlier also during the ancient trade, sorry, ancient times also they were doing some trades there, mostly in the leather goods and the textile goods also. These people, when they are in Xinjiang, they were married to the local beautiful Uyghur ladies. During the winter, peak winter, inclement weather, they come back to Pakistan. And when they went back, their wives were interned. They were sent to prison. Nobody knew. They cried, that fell in deaf ears. And finally, they also requested Imran Khan, but Imran Khan could not. All of these guys, not only the military guys, even the Jamati Islamic leader also. He will go there, he will go to the Idgah. Idgah, I was staying very close to Idgah. Every day morning I'll go there, sip tea. Okay. That is not as good, as big as our Jama Masjid, but Idgah is a very famous. Idgah, these guys went there, they spoke, and they are also giving training, Urdu language training. And from that ramparts of that Idgah Maidan, Idgah Mosque, they said, please do not do anything against the Chinese. So this is next year. And the Iran also, sir, I think, sir, you can see the Haddis and you can $400 billion Haddi. So they get $400 billion Haddi. They live in peace. And because Iran doesn't have any choice, keeping in view the present juncture, critical juncture of global stability, global politics, you can see. China is a friend indeed. Okay, next. And the Uyghur diaspora population. I visited almost all the diaspora all across the globe, starting from USA, Canada, then most of the countries in Europe, like Germany, they have a substantial number of Uyghurs, and then Brussels, Paris, Amsterdam, Norway, and Sweden, also Stockholm, also there are some people. So I visited, and Turkey also. So Turkey I visited 3 times. I visited Istanbul, Ankara, Kayseri, where Kayseri also. Kayseri is very close to Cappadocia, the beautiful rock, open rock museum and whatever. So there also more than 3,000, 4,000 Uyghurs live. But most of the people, most of the Uyghurs, they live in Istanbul. Zeytin, Burnu, the city is there. So I've also visited many people. So the global diaspora is ineffective, you can say. Doesn't have any truths. First, they do not have a charismatic leader like the Dalai Lama. See, when the Rabia Qadir became the symbol of Uyghur nationalism, became the head of the World Uyghur Congress. World Uyghur Congress started in 2004. There are more than 350, 300, 400 organizations, small organizations. In America, there are two East Turkestan government in exiles. You have only one Tibet government in exile, which has franchise all across the world. But they have two government in exile. One small, 3 people, one organization. There is absolutely no coordination, no cooperation among the members. And how you will be able to see European country, Germany. Germany doesn't buy the argument because Germany has a strong economic partnership with China. Most of the European countries, South Asian countries also use. That is, India you can take. I don't criticize it, but when you look at from this point of view, India since 2003, when our Prime Minister uttered during the Beijing Declaration, he said Tibet is an integral part of China. Then so as, again, within the brackets, so as Xinjiang. And in 1949, when the issue of Uyghur card came into being, Mao suspected three people, Russia, India, and USA, who can play the Uyghur card. But India could not. India has not played that Uyghur card. Why India? Because India had 2,500 years of civilizational linkage with the Uyghurs. India was active there, trade partnership there, and we had a consulate. British India had a consulate in Kashgar. Okay, that we had a consulate there. I've also visited, which is turned as now renamed as a cafe. Chini Bagh, Kashgar Chini Bagh area, you have a consulate. In 1891, the British India they established. When the World Great Game started, the Russians also built consulate there, especially spy networks. Okay, that was under the guard of the trade consulate. So when you look at this diaspora populations, also they haven't. Sir, it will be very surprised to know that I have given the numbers here. You can see in Kazakhstan, 290, maybe 500,000, maybe 1 million also. And you see Uzbekistan, 50,000. Uzbekistan has more than 1 million Uyghurs. One gentle lady from Kazakhstan whom I met in, she works for the UN. Okay. I met her in Turkey, Ankara. She told me that why Uzbekistan is not disclosing the number of Uyghurs. Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Uzbeks have the facial physical similarity, the best, highest facial physical similarity with the Uyghurs. For the fear of persecution by the Chinese or the local people, the local authorities, the Uzbek, they're not allowed to disclose their identity. They still came themselves as the Uzbek citizens. Next, please. And then so the catchword or the buzzword of the BRI, the Xi Jinping won, China won. So this is a win-win situation for China. And next is, these are the major takeaways. And again, the realistic perspective I give, sir, I believe the Xinjiang is inseparable, indivisible, integral. They call it core part, along with Taiwan, along with Tibet, along with Tibet and Xinjiang. These are core part of core strategy, you can say. And then they say that in order to secure and safeguard Xinjiang from any kind of internal subversions and the external interests, as you know, it has border with 8 countries. 3 of them are nuclear powers. For this is the Chinese perspective I'm telling you. Chinese say India is a nuclear power, Pakistan, Russia is also nuclear. 3 Central Asian countries, Afghanistan also. Afghanistan, which has been war torn for the last almost 50, more than 50 years. Okay. And then you say they have a very assertive, very clear cut. Xinjiang is our part, nobody can interfere. This is our territory. So just keep silent. Don't utter anything against this. And counter-terrorism is just the tip of the iceberg. The policy is. Sir, thank you so much for your attention, sir. And any question I'll love to answer.